Hello everyone and welcome to the Art of Teaching Art. Today I'm going to be showing you how to shade a gridded face drawing and shade the whole of the face, including the hair and eyebrows. Now if you want to see how I got to this stage, please watch the gridding a face video and that will take you up to this stage because this video is just going to be about the shading part of things. So what I'm aiming to do is get an realistic portrait. I'm aiming to use a range of different tones and details. Now I've got a variety of pencils to do this. The most important will be the 2B. Also I've got some darker tones, the 7B, a mechanical pencil and just a B pencil as well. So these are the main pencils that I'm going to use. And that's so I can get the range of tones and darkness so I can get a good contrast in the face. So once you've gridded your drawing, you will want to, and you've added all of the details that you can, you will want to rub out the grid lines. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now and then I can show you how to shade. So I've gotten rid of the grid lines and I'm ready to start shading. So there's a few different approaches to this, but I like to start with the eyes just because of the level of character that they bring to the face. It really helps to bring the portrait alive. And then I will move on to doing the nose and the lips before working around the face and then up around the portrait. Approaches to shading, I'm shading in one direction nice and neatly or using a circular motion. I'm trying to get the tone nice and even, and on the whole I will start with darker areas and then work over the top with the B pencil or 2B pencil to smooth out and just spread the graphite across. If you want more detail for how to shade eyes, nose and mouth, then have a look at the other videos that I've posted because that will show you a little bit more detail about how to do that for each individual facial feature. So I'm going to start with the 7B pencil and the dark area with the pupil and the highlight. I've already drawn the highlight in, then I'm going to work around the eye and then down to the nose and lips. I'll come back to you when I'm ready to do the eyebrows to show you that. So I've shaded most of the facial features now, and I'm going to move on to the eyebrows. Now, the important thing with eyebrows is to remember that they do consist of individual hairs. So these eyebrows are quite dark, so I will put a layer of initial shading down, but then I'm going to work over the top to add the individual hairs, and the mechanical pencil will be really important as part of this. So I'm going to start with this eyebrow here, and I'm just going to lightly shade, but with kind of individual strokes. So I'm building up the texture of the eyebrow first of all. And we're also looking at the direction of the hair. The direction comes up first of all and comes across as we move across the eyebrow. So we've got a few eyebrow hairs to start off with, going upwards. And then as we move across the eyebrow, they are tilted diagonally. And I'm just going to press a little bit harder on my pencil for some of these. I'm going to look at the shaping of the eyebrow so it kind of scoops round here. And then I'm going to work over the top with the mechanical pencil to just add in some darker hairs. And there we've got one eyebrow, and now I just need to move on to do the other one. And we've got the second eyebrow. So my next thing is to get in some of the shading around the face. Now, the important thing to remember is that we must have a contrast of light and dark highlight. So where you've got these lighter areas, they really must stay white on the page, and then you've got the darker areas as well that you want to add. We don't want to just shade the face all grey because a face is rounded, so we want to make sure that it looks like that. So I'm going to start on the forehead and come down the sides of the face with these darker tones, and then work across the face. A lot of this side of the face is quite pale, so I'll be using the 7B pencil to do the darker areas, and then the B pencil in some of these areas, and then smoothing it out with the 2B pencil as well. So I'm using quite large sweeping motions, trying to get across the whole of that area without too many overlapping lines. And I'm moving it with my wrist rather than moving my hand to be able to do that, to just get this initial layer in. So working on these softer areas, I'm using a flicking motion with my pencil to just add in the lighter tones. I'm using the B pencil, but a 2B or HB would be effective as well. And I'm just adding light tones to add that shading. Obviously we don't want necessarily a line around the jaw, so I will aim to kind of remove that, but also I'm going to add in a background later on which will help with that as well. So I'm going to do the ear next. Now, people always think the ears are quite tricky, but you just need to think of it as a collection of shadows. Obviously with this one, we've got the hair coming over it slightly. So I'm just going to draw the hair in on this section. Now with the hair, it's swept backwards round the head. So the motion we're using is this to get the direction of the hair. And there's also a bit coming over the ear. So I'm just going to use a sharp pencil and follow the direction of the hair in individual strands to create that bit of hair that comes across the ear here. And I will come back in and shade this a little bit more later on. So I'm just flicking the pencil towards the hairline because that's where the root of the hair is. And then later I will build this up. So then on to the ear, we've got a darker tone coming across here. And then it's lighter by the edge of the face, but it comes out just slightly, just where we've got the bit that kind of goes in the ear. And the edge of the ear is actually quite highlighted here. So we're just going to shade it slightly at the edges and across the earlobe to just create that shape. And then I'm going to move down onto the neck and shoulders to add the shading here, but it's the same approach. Add the dark areas, leave the highlights to develop the tone there. Shaded everything, and now I'm on to the hair. So with the hair, people often make the mistake of just shading it flat rather than adding the texture in the light and dark. So what we're looking really carefully at is the direction that the hair is going. So a lot of the hair is going up and round this way. We're looking to add the highlights, and we're also looking to add the dark areas. First of all, what I'm going to do is mark where the highlights are. Now, a lot of the highlights are coming kind of here. So I'm just gonna kind of mark basically where those kind of are. And this is more just general shapes. The main shape of the highlight is this one that comes up this way. So continuing with the hair, I've added in the highlights first of all, and then I'm going to start to put in a kind of base layer of shading. So just using the 2B pencil first of all, I'm going to add in the darker areas, and then I can start to add individual strands. Now I'm making sure that when I'm shading, I'm going in the direction of the hair. So that if there are any pencil lines left in it, then it means they will still go in the correct direction. And I'll just shade up and around where I think the highlights are. And then I'm going to start to add a bit more darkness, so layering on top with the 7B pencil. And then the idea is that you work through each individual section. So if I'm working on this area where there's the highlight, I would first add the darker areas in with the darker pencil. So you could use 7B or 8B, or you could just use a 4B, whatever your darkest pencil is. So just adding those darker bits in first of all. And then going in with a lighter pencil to just refine and sharpen edges, blend in, and also then add some detail. So do you need a light layer of shading or any individual strands? And then because I'm working towards the hairline, I can use a flicking motion with my pencil to start to build up those individual hairs going towards the hairline. And I'm going to just flick these a little bit further onto the forehead so they become lighter towards the forehead, because you've got kind of baby hairs that come onto your forehead, so you want kind of the glint of those there as well. And you can do that kind of all around the hairline. So you're just building up individual strands, so you're not worrying about necessarily shading evenly per se with this. You're just building up individual lines to create that hair texture. Even in the darker areas, you still want to use those individual lines. And if you do want to add more detail, you can add it in with the mechanical pencil. So in this section, because there's some highlights and some darker areas, but it's not really obvious, I'm just building up layers. So I started with the B pencil, doing some lighter areas. I'm working on top with the mechanical pencil. I'm keeping my wrist quite loose, doing quite sketchy lines to build up the texture of the hair. And then as I work, I will add some more detail, just to add some darker areas, so keeping the lines quite loose but making sure that they're going in the correct direction to just build up the different layers. And then I will add some shading and darker areas as I build up further. the last thing I need to add is the eyelashes, and I do go through this on the eye video, but I'm just going to look at the shape of them and then with the mechanical pencil just sketch them in. So I'm flicking the pencil in the direction that the eyelashes should go, so I'm looking carefully at the picture to make sure, and then just doing quick flicks towards the outside to get the eyelashes in. And then on the bottom of the eye too. And then I've got my eyelashes. So I'm not going to add in the dark background just because I don't want to lose this area of the hair, but I would go over and just check any shading, neaten edges, sharpen areas to just refine the drawing. But I really like the detail. I've got a good level of tone, and I think it does look realistic to the original piece as well. It might be that I need to do a little bit more just on the hairline. If I'm comparing the two images, just looking at the hairline, could do with coming in a little bit more. But those are some of the final kind of bits that I would then add to just finish off and develop the drawing. Thank you so much for watching and have a really great day.